Thank you, Ken. That was fantastic. Yeah. So the message today I titled Too Much Grit. And I have to give credit to a colleague of mine, Stacy Flint, for using the word grit. That's the word that she chooses when we do renewal days with our colleagues in our health system. And one of the things we talk about is how much we have so many invitations for self-care and resilience. How many times it's like, well, practice self-care, that will make things better. Or like, you can be resilient, use the word, oh, you're so resilient, you're doing things great, you're pulling through, look at your coping skills. And then sometimes self-care just feels like another thing on the to-do list. Another thing to get wrong, like, oh, I had coffee instead of water this morning, I was not caring for myself. And that's not the kind of pressure we want. When we try to persevere and take care of ourselves and everything and everyone all the time, everything that needs our attention, we just tend to it, and we try and we try and we try, and we don't have that space for recovery, we're actually practicing grit. The rough things just stay rough. Can you imagine the little one in our story for all ages, if she never had that space and a moment to pause and slow down, and it was just more and more and more rough washcloths, more friends getting too close, more crunchy food and itchy clothes, and that's grit. She would have to practice so much grit to get through it. But resilience is not the same thing as grit. Resilience is how you recover, not how you endure. Now, at the same time, grit is often a necessary tool. Life isn't always easy. There are rough things, and sometimes we do have to persevere. And we want to think about how all of us have a different capacity for grit and perseverance. Everybody has a different level where they say it's too much. And it's not for me to judge another person against myself or another person against each other. Everyone gets to say what their too much is. We think about the girl in the story with sensory issues. Her too much is perhaps very different from mine. And then I will share personally, her too much seems a lot like my kiddo's too much. He's on the autism spectrum and has a lot of sensory issues. And so the character was very relatable for my home life. And then I think about her choices for coping and recovery are both similar and different to mine. Perhaps yours too. Some of us may be more inclined toward introversion, some towards extroversion. So sometimes our coping might be like, I need a group of friends, I want to go out, I want to go dancing, even though the little bunny was like, let's go out dancing. Not always the best strategy, but for some of us, having that break is. And so we want to think about different strategies for recovery and resilience. I also like in the song that Ken shared, there were quite a few resilience strategies, that pause, the gratitude. What was the third one? The first one? Cry. Acknowledging the cry, yeah. So here are 4 categories of recovery. The first is psychological detachment. That means not thinking about your stressors. The second, relaxation, or doing something soothing or connecting to your sense of, I'm going to try to do this because it's your sense of or your sense of okay, right? Skillful play. Do things unrelated to your work, so that could be home life work or ministry work. or your actual career and job, to engage your skills. And control. You choose how you spend your time and do things the way you want to do them. And those are the 4 categories. And so I'm actually going to call for responses. We'll make this interactive. And the congregational mic should pick up the sound, but I'll also repeat. So the first question is, how do you pause? How do you leave work at work and maybe even leave home at home? How do you pause? What are those moments you have? Anybody have a pause moment? Any practices you do? Reading? Yeah, sometimes you pick up a book and you can get lost in that and you're moving away from your thoughts about work and everything. Yeah, okay. Reading. Sleep. That's a wonderful detachment. Your brain just shuts it down. Anything else? Walking, okay.
Walking outdoors.
Getting outside, yeah, that certainly changes your mind and what you're seeing around you.
Like a breathing or meditation practice.
Yeah, just taking a breath or having a whole meditation practice. Okay. Oh, yeah. Sometimes psychological detachment, looking at a game on your phone or doing something else. And what's going to be funny is some of the same strategies we use for that pause can also be relaxation strategies. So how do you relax? Any relaxation techniques? And so those are those sense of connecting or soothing your sense of or Oh, yeah.
Not procrastinating, because then you don't have to be stressed out later.
Okay. So
In the long run.
some preventative relaxation. Yoga. Okay. Coming to church. Sometimes. Other relaxation. You would put reading and you put music. Okay. Anything from online? Or feel free to put anything in the chat. The invitation's there.
I knit and watch Hallmark Mystery.
Yeah. Knit and watch Hallmark. There you go. Keep it cozy. Yeah. So what's fun about some of these relaxation is they can also be part of how do you engage your skills outside of your work? Like how do you creatively play? What are your play times? I like puzzles. I like jigsaw puzzles. Sewing, yes. Crafting, miniatures. Okay, you're a crafty person. Okay, thanks for sharing. Any other creative play that we want to share? Writing, yeah, in your journal, thank you. And this sometimes is a hard one, especially with all of the demands. But when you are in control of your time, how do you choose to spend it? Or maybe how do you find a way to be in control of your time? Jenny, I think what you were saying about organizing your schedule so that you can not procrastinate and be in charge, that's kind of that control technique. That would, anything. How do you find your sense of control?
For me, I stay up late when everybody else is in bed, and then I have my time.
Okay, make that scheduled time off after everyone's in bed. Some people get up early because they can control that time when they're up early. Anything else? Go ahead.
Blackout time, prioritize time for me for exercising.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in the schedule.
Yeah.
It's the priority.
Block out the time. I have put appointments on my calendar for myself. It's like, I am taking an hour lunch. You can't meet me. Anyway, all right. So we have many recovery practices. And one thing we want to think about is there are those different categories of recovery. So maybe something has worked in the past, but that might not be what you need right now. So I'm pretty good at relaxation. One of the things my family hears me say is, and they repeat it, that I'm just trying to relax. And I'm pretty good at it, like just putting on Netflix or Hallmark or something cozy. What's been harder is to find ways to use my skills outside of the work and home life. I think partially because my career path is so integrative of caregiving for people that it feels like I do it all the time. And so finding other ways to engage that type of skill is difficult. Any thoughts on that? Maybe just take a moment to pause and say, oh, I've been really good at the pause, or I've been really good at creative play, but I don't have a lot of control. How am I going to get that? So you don't have to keep pushing through with that grit. Take a sip of water. Because I'm noticing my body. And one area that we notice our need for recovery is in feelings, both in the body and as emotions. So the invitation right now, again, participation is welcome, to do a body scan. Where do you feel areas of tension? Where do you feel areas of ease? What's feeling easy right now in your body? Your head, good. I feel a little tension in my feet. I think I got the wrong size shoe. And I feel a little ease. I feel it in my hands. I feel it coming out. I feel easy. Little tension in the chair, yeah, in the seat. That's hard. And again, like if you had to keep going, always sit in that chair. That's your chair now. That's the one. Okay, do it, do it. You'd have to develop some grit. So those strategies to not just keep enduring, but to be able to move away from the thing that is asking you for endurance. In our body, in addition to tension and ease, which we can kind of like make a muscle connection to, we can also feel in our body more like ethereal things. Like where in your body do you experience connection? Where do you experience your sense of yourself? What about your grounding? How about, do you experience spirituality in your body? I can say sometimes I experience spirituality in my body when I sing. I move into the music. It feels like connecting to that. When you're connecting to the moment, to others, to nature, to what is sacred, to God for some of us. And in your body scan, say, what part feels the most okay right now? What part can bring you peace? There's this practice, and I want to say I heard it at the Blue Lotus Temple in Woodstock. I went to a teaching there, and we did a meditation where you imagine a big ball of light and the warmth, and it comes and it grows and it envelops your body, and it and the idea of the meditation of it scanning your body and then moving towards the part that has the pain. And you made it smaller, 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 and then it focuses on that. And on the same side, you can imagine that light moving and moving and then going, where in the body has the peace? And then how do you make that peace expand from that area? Maybe it's your left elbow. Maybe that's just fine today. There's some peace there. Let it radiate over you. Maybe your whole body doesn't feel good, and what you need isn't self-care, it might be some health care. That's okay. Don't keep enduring. It's okay to pause. It's okay to relax. It's okay to play instead of work. And it's okay to say, I need to step away. It's too much. I need a quiet place. I need calm. These are the things that I need. Feelings might be telling you how to take care of yourself, both the feelings in your body, but also the feelings that show up like sadness, where we can connect that. Sadness might show up in your body as tears, and it might be telling you that you need to cry, like Jason Mraz and like Ken said. Fear might be telling you to take calming breaths. Stress might be telling you, slow down, one step at a time. Don't procrastinate. One step after the other, get it done. Anger might be telling you to check in with your boundaries, and it might be telling you to address a violation. It might just be telling you to let it out like a yell or a howl. Loneliness might be telling you that you need connection, and you might want to feel that in your body, either to yourself, or take someone's hand, or get a hug, or just spend some time with someone in someone's presence. There's this idea of resonance that actually, when you're together, your body chemistries are like communicating with each other. They've shown it in the science with mothers and babies. So we talked a little bit about different tools and heard from people with different practices and things that they do to use the recovery techniques. And sometimes the best tool isn't as complicated as do this or do that or try this or that. It is acknowledgement and just letting it be. So remember in the video, the bunny tried a lot of things to comfort and make the bear feel better. But ultimately, what the bear needed and what the bunny needed to do is simply let it be. So I do believe in self-care and resilience strategies. I also think that grit is an okay tool as long as it doesn't keep going when it keeps getting rougher and rougher. But there's also room for acknowledgement. When we keep pressing through these areas of hurt without tending to them, I don't know, I just like, have you ever done any woodworking or sanding or anything like that? It doesn't help. I mean, eventually it's so smooth, but then you could also whittle it away to nothing. And acknowledgement is good because it says, I know the thing that happened to me, or I know the thing that I'm experiencing. One thing we can acknowledge now is we have a difficult political situation, and just yesterday to have such violence in the news. And we can acknowledge that it's difficult to be in this chaos and conflict. If we just push through and say, well, I don't want to look at that, I have to just detach from it, I acknowledge that it hurts. I acknowledge that it hurts to see such struggle. So, what do you need to acknowledge today? What do you need or want to acknowledge? And maybe for a moment you need to hold it and make space for it. The thing that's been, maybe I'll just go out dancing. Maybe I focus on the positive. what comes to your mind to acknowledge. And I'm not actually going to ask people to raise their hand and share those. And then, what do you want or need to let go of after you acknowledge? So, to yourself, we're going to do a practice of letting it be and then letting it go. And it may not be go all the way because it'll just be in the ether. But how would you finish this sentence? I acknowledge for myself that, ... I acknowledge for myself that. And let's just take a moment. All right, so you don't have to share what you acknowledged, but I am curious, what did you notice in that exercise? How are you feeling after you acknowledge the thing in your mind? More stress, less stress? Less.
A little more inspired to move past.
Okay, that inspiration there. Yeah, and thinking about how to take care of yourself. Let's do another body scan. Any different areas of tension? Any different areas of ease after acknowledging? Even though my shoes are still tight, my feet feel a little better. Plus, I know I get to sit down in a minute. Okay. Sometimes, just as a somatic practice, the idea to think about what you're acknowledging and just pretend you could hold it in your hand. I acknowledge that, and it's right there. And maybe hold it close. I acknowledge that election season is really hard and stressful. I acknowledge that self-care thing feels like another thing on my to-do list. I acknowledge that my procrastination is not always helpful to me. I acknowledge that it hurts. I acknowledge that I'm lonely sometimes. All the things. And you just hold it, you let it be, and then take a breath out and let it go. So let it be, let it go. And just think, now how do you feel? So I hope this was helpful. Some ways that we think about recovery, acknowledgement, self-care. And I'll be back in a little bit to lead us with our centering and meditation. But for now, thank you so much.